Hi Meena, welcome to our first series of Prax Convos. Thanks so much for taking out the time. We spoke about business models. So you spoke about this whole insurance opportunity. You also spoke about COVID care at home. And some sort of pharma tying up with pharma for sort of consistency of drug adherence. What are some other opportunities that you're seeing emerging from this? Is there something around elderly care and contained care? Is there something around? You spoke about that. Is there something around wellness at home, around primary? What type of insurance would start selling? What home oncology, right? So onco at home and chemo at home. And also a little bit on for the informal, formal sector. So you'll see at least with players also offering home care. People would want to move to someone who's a formally sort of a larger organization, a brand, and that whole pilferage that used to happen where they used to independently tie up, would that reduce? So what sort of other new business models and opportunities do you think will start spinning out after this crisis?
So, okay, let's talk about senior citizens, and let me talk about it from two perspectives. One is seniors can't move out, are advised not to, and that's going to stay for a while. So care has to be brought into their into homes. A lot of seniors are separated from from the younger people they're staying alone. They need help at home. There have been and the need for something which is more comprehensive, not just healthcare, but perhaps more supportive, more concierge. All of that coming in together as a solution is becoming even more critical for elders to take on. So what was primarily only healthcare earlier is becoming a more support, more all-rounded support that elders will need. And this is something which is perhaps a B2C or consumers taking it, or children taking for their elders. Same, whatever models we saw earlier, but more complete. But what I'm also seeing is that, and we even before COVID, in fact, we were talking to a few state governments who are saying that our senior citizens are not getting the care, and they are stuck in these little villages or towns, and you can't. The same kind of a Portia solution or equivalent of that doesn't really work for them because they can't afford to pay those kinds of subscriptions to get this kind of comprehensive care for them. So the government was saying that let's work together and create community-based care, and that's a new business model I think will emerge as time goes on. What would have been, in the whole retirement community coming together and taking care of people was one model, which you move people into a facility. But here you're saying the community itself is put together with a certain set of caregivers. So what we have proposed to some states is that we will identify some volunteers or people on who have some other jobs, but do this as a part-time, and they become the focal point for all the care that little community of elders would need. So in say a village which has got 30 elders above the age of 65, there's one person who keeps an eye on them, provides a certain set of regular routine care to them, knows how to escalate, what to escalate at what point in time. And these are all seniors who have chronic diseases, who need a little bit of support, maybe just need some hand holding at some point in time. But there's one focal point which takes care of that entire community and ensures that they are cared for. So this kind of program, I believe, is something which will be valuable, not just for communities that the government decides, say 25 districts, 50 districts, so many villages we cover in this model. But I also believe that this kind of a model will make sense for housing societies, for groups of apartments or groups of housing where there are a lot of senior citizens.
Tell me a little bit about integrated digital health. We spoke about VDoc model, we spoke about an interest, and we recently had this seminar with Niti Aayog, and they were also talking about generally India, the whole healthcare provider ecosystem is so fragmented, right? You go to a doctor, then you go to a pharmacy, then you go to, let's say, a lab test, then you visit a specialist, and the partner is different, plus the provider and the player company is also different, right? They don't have your records, and you need to sort of move around with all that. So, and I think the interesting point of conversation was there is no one number, right, where I can call if I have any health related issue. Then now if I have an eye related issue, I need to find who do I need to go for an eye doctor. If I have a stomach-related issue, I need to find who do I need to go. If I need to get a lab test, which is the right lab, etc. So there is no single underwriter of experience and patient care, right? And second is there is no integrated digital layer, that exists. So do you think this is the right time for government? And they've done UPI, and they've done similar sort of, integrate. They've done Aadhaar. They've done and created a lot of frameworks and guidelines, across a lot of different sectors. Do you think this is the right time for a lot of digital models to grow? And we're seeing telemedicine, which is operating at 2-3x pre-COVID levels right now.
Sure.
And secondly, framework and an underwriting experience with the government can regulate, etc. What's your view on that?
What you say is right, that with this whole fragmented approach, it's extremely challenging for any patient who wants to go through the entire journey. It is very challenging. But what you're talking about is utopia. I think we are far away from being able to get to a stage where the entire thing is linked with one common platform and all the data is getting handed off from one to the other, and it's managed absolutely seamlessly. It's going to take a long time. I don't know of how many other countries that have achieved that. And looking at our scale, it's a really, really tough ask. So I would say that the kind of work that we're doing for COVID is in a way end-to-end management. From the time a person's test is taken to they're seeing positive, their entire records, their escalations, their doctor consultations, and all the reporting, all of it is coming together in one platform, which in a microcosm, that's what we are getting created. So perhaps these kind of use cases may accelerate this tying of all the pieces together. But I wish I could agree with your optimism that we are close to that. I think we are quite far from that.
One specific topic I want to understand is, a lot of India has a huge shortage of doctors and specialists, right? And also the medical workforce, and there is a huge at this junction there is obviously a lot of fear and safety question mark in terms of the medical workforce, right? And you're seeing that some private hospitals, part of the workforce is not turning up because of security and safety reasons, etc. And there is, even if they are, there is not enough feeling of safety. One question is, for healthcare providers and generally all the people operating in the healthcare ecosystem, how do we drive that feeling? What are the 5-6 things that we need to do, and are we able to do that well? Do we have enough kits? Do we have enough supply of PPE, masks, etc.? How do we bring that feeling of safety and actually drive that safety for our medical workforce?
It's a very good question you asked. I'm not close enough to the ground to say how good is it or how bad is it. I'm not the expert at this, but obviously there is something to be said about resources. The other thing is also to provide the kind of legal and other supportive infrastructure so that somebody doesn't get booted out of their home because they're a doctor, or they're not permitted to come home because they're a doctor. Some of those kind of things sound really harsh, and the community needs to also support these people. But beyond that, I am not the expert at this, so I don't want to comment whether there is enough going on and what else needs to be done.
Initially you mentioned you guys did see a drop in the run rate, etc., and that must have given you some spare capacity and time, right? At least if not at the management, at the mid level. How were you guys able to use this time? Were you sort of drive more SOPs, create more assessments, train people, think about more future opportunities, or have you guys been busy firefighting and taking this huge responsibility and managing that on your shoulders?
So the volume of business was down, and a lot of our team stepped up to improve the processes. A lot of training happened, but by end of April we got completely sucked in working with the states, as well as a lot of new solutions for corporates, for telemedicine, for pharma, and for insurance. All of these they've started to get seriously engaged. So really the bandwidth has got very, very thin. In fact, we've become much busier. I keep telling my family and others, whoever would want to listen to me, is that I feel like I'm drinking from a fire hose and it's just going on and on. So I don't think we had too much of downtime. We had just hardly 2-3 weeks, and then things are just going ballistic after that.
Thanks so much for taking out your time, Wonderful talking to you. Wish you all the best, all the health, and all the best to you and your family and your loved ones.